What's going on, guys? It's the Bigs Podcast, episode number 164. And today we're going to catch you up on all the news and notes that have happened since the Juan Soto signing. With me tonight from Denver, Colorado, Jason Ashby. Jason, it's been a wild couple of days here since Soto signed.
Yeah. It's been it was a little quiet, and then things started coming up, and the hot stove got hotter, and but there's still a lot of big names out there that I think are kind of holding up the rest of the stove. Like, where's Alonso going? Where's Corbin Burns going? Where's Christian Walker there's a lot of dudes out there that need a
Mhm.
home. And so I'm waiting. Like, at this point, I feel like it's gonna be next year. It's gonna be 2025. We're gonna be talking about when, kind of these bigger names sign.
Yeah, I kind of get the feeling like Pete Alonso is going to be signing after the new year. Same with Corbin Burns. It's going to be interesting to see where they land. I certainly hope we get our guy back, but we shall see what happens.
Yep.
Let's dive into this thing and start with the crosstown New York Yankees. They have been very busy after missing out on Juan Soto. First things first, they signed Max Fried. I think it was the next day or the day after. 8 years, 218 million dollars for them to have a number two behind Garrett Cole. No opt
Yeah.
outs, no trade, full no trade clause. He's going to be there for a while.
He's gonna be there pretty much till the end, I would think. Like, 8 years, that should take him pretty much to the twilight. Yeah, that's quite a rotation they got there now.
Yeah, Cole, Freed, Rodon, Luis Heel, the rookie of the year, and then one of Clark Schmidt or Nestor, Marcus Stroman, rather. We'll talk about Nestor here in a moment.
Yeah.
But Max Fried is the interesting one here. Him going to Yankee Stadium and being in that rotation. I actually had to move him up a little bit in my rankings. I'm going to ask you him or Cole Reagans.
Oh, Max Fried. I don't like it because I've never been a fan of his, and maybe it's because he's always worn Braves and now he's wearing pinstripes, so I can still not like him. But Cole Reagan's had a really good year, but I think Max Fried's a little bit more proven.
Okay, very well. They also re-signed Jonathan Loizaga to a one-year deal with a club option. Not a whole lot of news there, but it's a nice bullpen piece that could use an upgrade at this point. They could also use a closer, but more on that in a moment.
Yeah.
The They did, however, shore up that bullpen with Loizaga and, of course, the big trade for Devin Williams from the Brewers. They gave up Nestor Cortez and second base prospect Caleb Durbin, who was in the running for the second base job. I find it interesting that they pretty much hyped this dude up only to trade him to the Brewers.
Yeah. And both Devin Williams and Nestor Cortez are free agents after this year. But I'm hearing that, there's definitely interest on both sides to lock up Devin Williams in the Bronx. So that would be huge for the Yankees because they've been needing, Clay Holmes was a stopper for a bit, but I didn't feel like Luke Weaver was the answer there.
Neither did I.
Right. So this kind of just solidifies that spot. And yeah, look, there's more to talk about. The Yankees have been absolutely just one of the busiest teams over the last week and a half. It's like they said, fine, we're not gonna get Juan Soto, we'll just get everybody else.
Yeah, we're gonna make this team completely different going into 2025 because their new center fielder is going to be Cody Bellinger after they make another trade with the Chicago Cubs. They bring Cody Bellinger back to where his father won a World Series with that team. So now Bellinger gets to play in the same stadium. Uh, Cubs are also sending $5 million along with Cody Bellinger, and they get back little Cody Poteet.
Very, very petite well, one Cody for a petiter Cody.
Yeah,
Um yeah. Uh Interesting. And I know that the money was a big kind of holding point for these negotiations between the Yankees and the Cubs. Who's going to pay the majority of Bellinger's contract that was left? And it's going to be the Cubs. They only attend $5 million.
yeah. Now, Bellinger has an opt out after this year, so if he balls out, he might not be back in the Bronx next season. But that's not of any concern right now because you just got a really good left handed power stick to put right behind Aaron Judge this year.
Yeah, and look, right now, the Yankees aren't done. Um, so right now, maybe he's like slots at center field, but if they could go out and sign, another outfielder and put him at first base,
Mhm.
they can move him to left field, and they have a lot of options with Bellinger in the toe, but um, as far as the lineup goes, yeah, it's just got really scary.
The Yankees, of course, are not done. They are going to need a first baseman. They are going to need either a third baseman or a second baseman, somebody for wherever Jazz isn't playing.
Right.
I personally would love to see Carlos Santana play first base for them for a year and see what that would be in the middle of that lineup in that stadium for a switch hitter like Santana.
That would be pretty scary. Yeah, it'd be a good, kind of walk off year for him.
Yeah, if that is his last season, I mean, if he balls out, he could still have another year or two
Yeah,
as somebody's DH.
yeah, um, yeah. I know they've been talking about Paul Goldschmidt. I know they've been talking about Christian Walker. So and obviously they're talking about Pete Alonso. So
Of course.
yeah,
Of course. And the Cubs were not done. They sent away Cody Bellinger because they created a very big logjam in their outfield by trading for Kyle Tucker. Gave up Isak Paredes, Hayden Wisniewski, and first round pick in the 2024 draft, a kid by the name of Cam Smith. The Houston Astros built their dynasty off of being bad for so many years and hoarding those big draft picks. Here's an opportunity for them to get another first rounder, put Isak Paredes at third base. John Singleton looks like they're going to be it right now looks like he's going to be their first baseman, but we'll see if they get into this market too. They could certainly be in play for Christian Walker or Carlos Santana like we just talked about.
right. Or if they can find a way to bring Bregman back, they can move Paredes over to first.
Yeah. And Paredes, honestly, I think he's going to play pretty well with Crawford boxes there. We've talked in the past about how pull heavy he is and how his all of his home runs go to left field. He just falls right into a beautiful situation here with the Crawford boxes ready to play.
Yeah, he had 19 home runs last year. I could see him push 30.
He had 30 with the Rays the year before. So I mean
Okay, so there you
that was a
go.
huge number. I think he could get back close to that this year.
Yeah.
Him or Junior Caminero.
Yeah, that's a good one. Again, I probably take Paredes just because I know what I'm getting from him. We haven't really seen a
Mhm.
whole lot of Caminero, so I think he's played a total of like 80 games in the big leagues over a couple of seasons. So, um, I take Paredes.
Paredes or Royce Lewis?
Oh, that's a tough one. That's
I
a tough
know
one.
it is.
Yeah. Both of them are a bit of a health risk. But given this move, I probably have to move Paredes up. I think I'm going to take Paredes.
Wow. Big move for Isak Paredes. And for Kyle Tucker, it's it's a pretty even move. Like the ballpark itself doesn't play any differently as far as I could see. They're both pretty middle of the road for left-handed hitters. But that outfield is now him, Pete Crow Armstrong, Ian Happ, and Seiya Suzuki. So there's still a little bit to be figured out as to where everybody's going to play, who the DH is going to be. But this is gonna be a huge walk year for Kyle Tucker.
Yeah, my guess is it'll be Suzuki will be the DH most of the time, assuming
Mhm.
everybody else is healthy.
Mhm.
I think this definitely makes the Cubs more significant in the NL Central.
Yeah,
I think
they're
this
gonna
definitely.
push the Brewers this year.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think they could use some help in the bullpen. They
Mhm.
can use maybe another depth starter, but I like what they're doing. I like the Cubs this year.
Yeah, you can never have enough pitching, and I certainly believe that they'll be in the market for one of the key closers, whether that's Tanner Scott, Kenley Jansen is out there. There's a couple of other guys still
Hmm.
available. Kyle Finnegan comes to mind immediately as a nice fit there.
Sure.
We'll have to wait and see. Maybe they've got an internal option they like. I don't know if Porter Hodge is the answer, but
I
They
mean, he
seem to
looked
like
good
him.
down the stretch, but I feel like they probably would want to have somebody a little bit more solidified and let him kind of come along.
I agree. I agree completely. So maybe a 1 year deal for Kenley Jansen makes a lot more sense here.
Exactly.
That is there is one more enormous move. Garrett Crochet finally gets out of the Chicago White Sox and moves to Boston. He's going to change the color of his socks, and four minor league prospects going back in the other direction. I'm not going to bog you down with those prospects. We'll see them in a couple of years and talk about them then. But Garrett Crochet himself to Boston. How do you feel about that move?
I mean, I guess he instantly becomes their ace.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I kind of I don't know this for sure, but this is just a hunch. I feel like as a Mets fan, I feel like, and I'm hoping that we dodged a bullet. Um, he seems like he has all the talent in the world. I just feel like he either his arm's gonna fall off, or he's just. I feel like he's kind of a diva. I don't know. I know that there was some issues during the summer last year where like he only wanted to be traded if he was being traded to a contender, and or he wasn't going to pitch. I don't know, there was just a lot of drama around him, and it doesn't sound like something that we need. But the talent is for real, and he's only 25, so like this kid is going to be something special for a while, as long as he can stay healthy. Good for the Red Sox.
Yeah, and the White Sox, well, they're still going to be terrible. They're still going to probably finish last. The question of whether or not they're even going to break their own record that they set last year is up in the air. The Red Sox get themselves their ace. I remember distinctly Garrett Crochet saying he wasn't going to pitch in the postseason unless he was
That
extended
was
by
it.
the team he was traded to. That's the big
Yes,
thing.
yes, that was
So
it.
I'm interested to see if an extension comes here from the Red Sox because Crochet's got another 2 years on his rookie deal before he becomes a free agent. But I think the Red Sox will want to lock him up after giving up a whole bunch of dudes for this.
Yeah.
He slots in as their ace in front of guys like Brian Bayo, Tanner Houck, and Cutter Crawford. I like the rotation. I don't love the rotation, and I
Right.
think they'll be able to compete. I still think there's work to be done here if you're Boston, though.
Yeah, it has potential, but I think they could use somebody like, like a Nick Pivetta. I don't know if there's a
Mm-hmm.
reunion happening there, but like somebody like that, that they can, kind of somebody a little more solidified again, somebody more tenure, even like you know, Michael Lorenzen, Jordan Lyles, somebody who can eat up innings for this rotation, because there's a lot of youth, a lot of inexperience, a lot of injuries in this rotation. I don't even know who Richard Fitz is, but apparently he's the number 5 right now.
Dick Fitz, look out for him. He is going to
Okay.
be. He is going to give you fits. That is the big moves here. We've had a couple of other smaller moves along the way. Jake Berger gets himself out of Miami and is traded to the Texas Rangers. This one made me scratch my head a little bit here because we've got Josh Young and we've got Nathaniel Lowe. Where are we playing Jake Berger? Is he going to be the DH?
I think he's got to be the DH. Like I don't like him as a third baseman. I mean, I guess he could have been a first baseman for Miami, but he'll be the DH, and it basically means that Josh Smith goes back to being, the super utility guy,
Mm-hmm.
rather than being the starter that he ended up being last year, and he did okay, but I I like this move for Texas, honestly. I think this just gives them another power bat in that lineup, that you can bat him lower down in the lineup and he can still give you 25, 30 homers.
Yeah, extend that lineup a little bit more. I think he hit 29 last year, which is a
Yeah.
really good number in a crappy Miami Marlins lineup, which
Yeah.
begs the question, who the hell is left there?
Um,
Jesus Luzardo, Sandy Alcantara, but nobody that plays offense.
yeah. I mean, here's their projected lineup right now.
All right. You,
uh
me, Ben Nisman, and who else?
yeah, who else wants to join the Marlins? Because we're probably all better than these guys. All right. Xavier Edwards, Connor Norby, Jesus Sanchez, Jonah Bride, Griffin Conine, Division de los Santos, Kyle Stowers, Otto Lopez, and Nick Fortes. This is just awful.
Connor Norby could be a guy.
Yes.
Xavier Edwards was pretty good last year. Uh, who was the other Baltimore outfielder that you
Kyle
said?
Stowers.
Kyle Stowers might be a guy. Jesus Sanchez hits bombs.
But like,
But realistically, no, this lineup is not much of anything.
yeah, I mean,
They're
without
going to lose a
Burhan's
lot of
hanging
games this
around, Derek
year.
Hill's hanging around, but like, yeah,
And their
it's
rotation again, Sandy, Luzardo, and what else?
Edward Cabrera, Ryan Weathers, and Braxton Garrett.
I mean, those are names. Those are guys who like we've seen them perform at this level. Whether or not they're good is
Also, Jesus Luzardo is no sure thing to be in this rotation come opening day.
that's true.
I know the Cubs have been talking to the Marlins about him for a while.
Mhm.
Um,
That would be
I
an interesting fit because they've already got 2 or 3 lefties in that rotation already with Imanaga and Steele.
yeah,
It'd
it'd be a
be interesting.
very
Yeah,
lefty heavy rotation. Yeah,
yeah. Which is unusual. I know the Dodgers did it a couple of years ago. They had a whole bunch of lefties in their rotation. And I mean, it worked out for them. I don't know if it'll work out for the Cubs, but that
I think
remains to be
I
seen.
think at this point you almost don't care. Like if you can put a guy like Luzardo as your number two,
Mhm.
number three, like sure,
Yeah, there's an argument to be made that he could be better than Imanaga this year. He
if he's
has all the
healthy.
promise. Yeah, he just has to stay healthy. That's the biggest thing with him
Yeah.
is his inability to stay on the field. The Rangers, they not only traded for Jake Berger, but they turned around and re-signed Nathan Eovaldi, 3 years, $75 million. He was their workhorse last year. He led their team in innings. I think he's going to have to do that again this year because they lost Max Scherzer. Jacob DeGrom is a big question mark. And after that, it's not a whole lot of dudes.
No, John Gray and Tyler Molly also coming back from surgery.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, Dane Dunning, like, yeah, there are definitely some question marks for the Rangers. So they had to bring back Evaldi or a Pavetta or a Mania, somebody of that ilk, because right, who else is throwing innings in this rotation?
Yeah, it was a question that we asked last year in the prop bet show, 30 questions for 30 teams. Who was going to lead this team in innings? It ends up being Nate Eovaldi with Andrew Heaney finishing right behind him. Heaney's also a free agent, so they could like a reunion with him as well. We'll have to wait and see as far as that's concerned. The
Yeah,
Rangers themselves, I think they're going to compete again this year. They're starting to stock back up. They've still got Semien and Seager up the middle. If Adalis Garcia could bounce back from a terrible last year, and Wyatt Langford or Evan Carter or both could take a step forward, I think we'll see a resurgence of the Rangers in the AL West this year.
the bullpen is a little iffy. They
Sure, they
have
lost Leclerc and Yates.
yeah, and David Robertson. So,
Yeah,
Jacob Webb, it's not Jacob Webb, and right now he's pegged to be their closer, for whatever that means.
sure. The guy who was throwing middle relief for the Orioles last year is your
That
closer?
guy, yeah.
I don't think so.
I mean, Josh Seaboard is still,
Mm.
depending on his health, he's there somewhere. Um, yeah,
It
it's
doesn't it doesn't look good for the pen for the Rangers. I think that's where they attack next. Maybe they bring back Kirby Yates on a 1 year deal. That would probably be a great fit. Or they go in another direction. We'll have to wait and
okay.
see.
They could be fit for Kenley Jansen too.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. We talked about the Tigers signing Alex Cobb to a 1 year deal, $15 million. I like any pitcher that goes to Detroit. Their ballpark is rather large and pitcher friendly. So I might be in on Alex Cobb as a sleeper this year. So long as he can stay healthy, let's hope for the best for him.
Yeah, yeah. He's lost as a number three. Good veteran presence for this young rotation.
No doubt. No doubt. The Blue Jays were fairly active this offseason as well. They acquire Andres Jimenez and Nick Sandlin from Cleveland. They give up Spencer Horowitz and an outfield prospect. And more on Spencer Horowitz in a minute, but let's talk about Jimenez. He was signed by the Guardians after the Francisco Lindor trade to a big contract. He's going to make $23 million each of the next 3 years. So this is very obviously a salary dump by the Guardians
Yeah,
to get out from underneath that contract. If I'm Vlad Guerrero and I'm watching this team try to get Soto and fail, and try to get Aaron Judge and fail, and try to get Shohei Ohtani and fail, what incentive do I have to try to sign an extension with this team Oh, wait, he turned it down. That guy will not be playing in Toronto after this season. Bookmark it.
Yeah, I agree. I think he can make a killing somewhere else. And in fact, I can even see, like if I'm the Yankees, like let me have Ben Rice as my first baseman for a year and then go after this guy.
Yeah, you could sign Carlos Santana to a 1 year deal, let him walk
Exactly.
next year.
Yep. Yep.
Pittsburgh Pirates then turned around and traded for Spencer Horwitz, giving up Luis Ortiz and and two pitching prospects. Horowitz now becomes the Pirates' first baseman? Question mark. I mean, I didn't expect them to go this cheap at first base, but here we are.
Yeah. I mean, he had a good year. 357 on base for the Blue Jays last year over what 380 or so plate appearances. So like not bad. Um just kind of
Just pedestrian is the word we're
pedestrian.
looking
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
here.
that's a good
Yeah.
word, but he's going to hit in the middle of this shitty Pirates lineup. So for the Pirates, he's a slugger.
I was kind of hoping that the Pirates would go out and bring back Andrew McCutchen, bring in Anthony Rizzo, and let the rest of these kids play underneath these two guys, sort of as the veteran presence around a young team. I guess
Yeah.
they're not going to do that. They're just going to bring in another kid who's cheaper and play him at first base.
Yeah. I mean, they
As
still have IKF, they have Brian Reynolds, they have O'Neill Cruz.
mhm, mhm.
Joey Bart is projected to be their cleanup hitter. That's gross.
He had a really nice year for Pittsburgh, though. Watch out for him as a former top prospect, former first rounder. Like
Yeah,
he's
I don't see him as a cleanup hitter though. Like I like
maybe not, maybe not. Maybe he ends up being their 6 or 7 hitter this year, but
yeah,
it's still look, it's Pittsburgh. They're not
it's
going to
Pittsburgh.
be
Yeah.
very good this year. You know, Skeens, Jared Jones, O'Neill Cruz, nice guys to get people into the ballpark, but realistically, this team is not going to compete with the Brewers and the Cubs.
No. No.
You have here lineup upgrade for Andres Jimenez. I'm actually going to counter and say that it's a downgrade because other than Vlad Guerrero, what is in that Toronto lineup? And do not say Bo Bichette.
Well, I don't know. I always feel like like I know that the Blue Jays have kind of tricked us over the years because we always think that this team is going to be so good. I don't know. Right now roster resource has him in as batting sixth in this order. I don't think that's gonna hold. Is George Springer really gonna be their leadoff hitter again?
Yeah,
Like
probably. They're paying him a shit ton of money to be that.
35 years old. Yeah. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Um, who knows? Maybe the Blue Jays still have more to do. Will Wagner is pegged to be their DH. I don't know who Will Wagner is. Like
I
he
wonder if he's
he's
any relation to Will Wheaton.
he's pegged to be their DH and their cleanup hitter. Um, yeah, I see what you're saying. I feel like Toronto has always been more um feared as a lineup than Cleveland. Like,
Sure, because of
it's
Vlad Guerrero, and that's about it. I
and
mean,
Jose Ramirez, Josh Naylor is starting to come up, starting to come into his own. Yes,
mhm.
I agree. Okay.
And John Kenzie Noel is the big power hitter now that replaced Franmil Reyes and Oscar Gonzalez. Lane Thomas is a pretty nice piece to have in their outfield. I I kind of like the Cleveland lineup, even with the subtraction of Andres Jimenez. And again, they're saving $23 million by getting rid of this guy. There's nothing that says they can't go out and add a piece here.
True. Yeah, I could see them, going and get like a, Brendan Rodgers or something like that.
Yeah, something to fill second base. I don't think they have a prospect that's running and screaming to come up unless it's Travis Bazana, their first round pick this year. Um, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
The Blue Jays also re-signed Yimi Garcia, 2 years, 15 million. Congratulations! You cut Jordan Romano and you bring back this guy. Like you saved $7 million by getting rid of Romano and you give it to this guy. I that one just made me scratch my head really,
Yeah,
really hard.
yeah. They trade him and then they bring him back, and he wasn't good. Yeah, I don't get it. I do like the Nick Sandlin acquisition in that Jimenez
Sure.
trade. I think that's a nice piece for the bullpen.
Sure. And like they're setting themselves up for a nice little back end of the bullpen in the 6, 7, and 8. They just need a real closer. And again, we go back to Kenley Jansen and Kirby Yates and those guys that are free agents this year,
Yeah,
maybe on a 1 year deal. Or maybe they go and sign Kyle Finnegan to a 3 year deal. Who knows? Who knows?
yeah,
The Atlanta Braves have been very, very quiet this offseason. They have done very little, and it is irking Frank Bucco because his only thing on his Christmas wish list this year was Willie Adames. Didn't get that to replace Orlando Arcia. We'll have to wait and see if maybe they go out and trade for Bo Bichette, but that's probably a pipe dream at this point. I think Toronto is going to want to try to keep that core together before Bichette walks in free agency at the same time as Vlad. So
yeah.
that'll be interesting.
I mean, maybe a midsummer thing, if they're out of it,
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, shed the contract, let somebody give them a couple of prospects before he walks in the offseason. The
right.
Braves, to their credit, go out and sign Brian De La Cruz, who was good for the Marlins, terrible for the Pirates in the second half after he got traded. He's probably going to be their right fielder while Ronald Acuna is healing from his ACL injury, and then split time with Jared Kelenic in left field.
Yeah. So he's essentially what like Jorge Soler was.
Correct.
Right.
For far
Um,
less money.
yes, yes, and less power, but he still has the potential to have that power. He hit 21 home runs last year, so you know it's not a major signing, but yeah, the team definitely needs they really like if I'm Frank Bucco or any other Braves fan, I'm going. Am I really going to see another year of Orlando Arcia as the starting shortstop?
I know. I know. And they also need to add a starter after losing Max Fried. So unless they're going to go with Ian Anderson, who hasn't seen the majors in like 3 seasons.
Right now, roster resource has Ian Anderson and Grant Holmes in the rotation.
Right. Grant Holmes was the guy who replaced Chris Sale in the wild card series.
Yeah,
So I just think they need to go sign one more pitcher. I personally think it's going to be Charlie Morton on a 1 year deal. Bring him back into the fold. Let
makes
him be
sense.
your 4 starter. And then, yeah, if you want to throw Grant Holmes or Ian Anderson or AJ Smith Shawver or any one of these young kids that they've got as the 5, fine. But you're already running Spencer Schwellenbach out there in your rotation. So, how many rookies do you really want to rely on when you're trying to compete with the Phillies and the Mets in the East?
Yeah, I can see a guy like Patrick Sandoval,
It's
um,
a good name.
being a guy,
It's a good
give him
name.
a 1 year with an option or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The Oakland, formerly Oakland, now West Sacramento, California, United States Athletics of America, they're actually spending money. It is
Yeah,
really surprising. They signed Luis Severino. We talked about that on the last show. Well, this week they went and they traded for Jeffrey Springs from Tampa to bring him over to Sacramento. And they give up Joe Boyle and 2 other minor leaguers and a competitive balance pick in the 2025 draft. Jeffrey Springs is obviously the big piece here. He's coming back from Tommy John surgery, so we'll see how he adjusts in his first season back. But I personally like this move.
yeah.
I think the
Oh, I
the
do
A's
too.
need arms at this point.
Yeah, and established arms. I mean, yeah, he's coming back from surgery, but he's been solid. When he's been healthy ever since going to Tampa. Tampa did something. They unlocked something that they always do with these guys,
Mhm.
and now he gets to join a budding club that he basically goes from one minor league park to another minor league park.
Isn't that crazy that they go from the single A ballpark in Tampa to a triple A ballpark? I don't like the ballpark. I probably won't own Jeffrey Springs in 2025, but he's worth keeping an eye on,
Sure.
especially once they build and move to the stadium in Las Vegas. That could be a completely different and it could be a completely different dimensions than what we saw.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like it, and it gives the A's, two veteran presences on the top of the rotation, and then you have guys like JP Steers and Joey Estes, behind them, but like these are two horses that they can kind of rely on.
I could see one more starter coming to the A's. I could see them going out and signing somebody on a 1-year deal,
Yeah,
and just sort of having that guy as an innings eater, somebody in the vein of Lance Lynn. I know he's not a free agent, but somebody in that vein. Charlie Morton comes to mind
Lance
as
Lynn is a
well
free
here.
agent.
Oh, he is. Well,
Yeah.
then fine, that would work.
Yeah, but yeah, Lance Lynn or Jordan Lyles, somebody of
Yeah,
that category. Yeah,
yeah, somebody who's just looking to continue their career for another year, eat up some
Andrew
innings.
Heaney even.
There you go, another good name. As for Joe Boyle on the other side, look, I'm going to tell you right now, watch out for this guy. He throws gas. And if there's one team that will take a guy with control issues but throws gas and figure him out, it's Tampa. Whether he's going to be in the rotation or whether he ends up being a bullpen piece is yet to be seen. But I think he could fit either side of that coin,
Sure.
especially if the rumors are true that they're looking to trade Pete Fairbanks as well. That could be an interesting guy just to slot into the back end of that rotation and see what you've got.
Yeah, I like that because I mean, right now the rotation, assuming they don't trade anybody, looks pretty good. McClanahan, Taj Bradley, Ryan Pepio, Zach Littell, and Shane Baz. Like it's pretty solidified there as long as all those people are healthy and not traded.
And
The
that's before
bullpen,
Drew Rasmussen comes back, by the way.
right? Yeah, yeah. Drew Rasmussen. Right now they had Roster Reese versus showing Rasmussen in the bullpen.
Hmm.
But you also got but like yeah, I can see where Joe Boyle can fit into that back end of the road of that bullpen, especially if Fairbanks goes away.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how I probably won't own any Tampa Bay Rays arms this year that are starters just because of the dimensions of that single A ballpark they're playing in. They're identical to Yankee Stadium, and that short porch in right field is not very welcoming. I don't think I want a piece of it, but it'll be fun to see what they do for the year, maybe two they have to spend in that stadium while
Yeah,
the Trop is being repaired or the new stadium's being built, or maybe they relocate. I honestly don't know what's going to happen with this team.
yeah. Well, I know that they've been trying to relocate him back to Montreal for years, but
Mm-hmm.
who the hell knows?
Maybe they just build a new stadium in St. Petersburg and or in Tampa proper, and
Tampa, yeah.
I don't know. The Orioles sign a pitcher. His name is not Corbin Burns. It's Tomoyuki Sugano. Who? He came over from Japan, 1 year, $13 million, but he's a 35-year-old and has spent most of his career in Japan, actually all of his career in Japan. Last year, he had a 1.67 ERA over 156 innings. He's going to be a back end starter. He's probably not going to be too much of an impact, but I guess the Orioles got their guy.
They got a guy.
They
Yeah.
got a guy.
Yeah.
What's their
I mean,
rotation look like on roster resource? It's Eflin and Grayson Rodriguez, this guy.
Dean Kramer, Sugano, and Trevor Rogers.
Trevor Rogers was a disaster after the trade to Miami.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
Unmitigated
horrible.
disaster.
That was a
Um,
horrible deal.
yeah. Kyle Bradish is Tommy John
Mm-hmm.
and Tyler Wells is had a UCL surgery as well, both like in June. So we could see them back.
Back end of the season, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe depending on how their rehab goes. I mean,
Right.
this feels like they needed bona fide ace, and whether that's Corbin Burns or not is really going to dictate what their season's going to be like.
Yeah. I can even see like a Nick Pavetta,
That's not an
like
ace.
I know he's not, but like the maybe Walker Bueller,
That'd be better, I
yeah.
guess.
I mean, there's not a whole lot um other than Burns. There's really not a whole lot of ace material out here.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. Max Fried was the other guy, and he's off the board now.
Jack Flaherty, maybe.
Maybe, maybe. I mean, he feels like a second tier right there with Mania. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
maybe
right.
that's the guy. Maybe it is Sean Mania that ends up going there.
Yeah.
The Rays also signed Danny Jansen to a 1-year deal. That'll crush any chances of Ben Rortvedt being their starting catcher, which is better. I think that's an upgrade.
Yeah,
Um, I don't. It doesn't move the needle for me. I'm not impressed. They need to do some more, or they need to start cutting payroll. I could see Yandy Diaz moving. I could see, a lot of youth
Brandon
coming
Lau.
through here. Brandon Lau is an interesting one because if he does stay in Tampa, that short porch and right field that I just talked about really plays to his strengths.
Sure.
And we've seen this dude have a 40 homer season when he's
Yeah.
healthy. If he stays healthy, plays his home games in that ballpark, we could see another big season from him.
Even like Christopher Morel, because like he can go the other way too.
Mhm.
So I can see some and we already know he can hit for power. So uh Josh Lowe, look, it's an interesting lineup. Um
What
uh,
is it right now?
is Yandy, Brandon Lau, Junior Caminero, Josh Lowe, Danny Jansen, Morel, Jonathan Aranda, Johnny DeLuca, and Taylor Walls. You got
Taylor
guys like
Walls is
Jose
their shortstop.
Caballero, Richie Palacios, kind of hanging around too.
Man, this whole Wander Franco thing really fucked them, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Man, that really sucks. I mean,
Curtis
the
Mead,
guy's a piece of
the
shit, but
guy.
like, the guy's a true piece of shit. But he really destroyed Tampa's opportunity and their window. Like that was supposed to be. This was supposed to be the core. It was
Yeah,
Caminero and Wander and Yandy and Josh Lowe, and they've got other kids on the way. Xavier Isaac is going to be their future first baseman. He's really good
yeah.
power hitting dude
Curtis
in the
Mead.
minors.
Yeah, they,
Yeah,
they got a bunch of guys.
they do. It was supposed to be centered around this superstar
Oh
shortstop.
yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Finally, our New York Mets did something other than sign Juan Soto. We expected them to do some stuff, but they just signed Griffin Canning, 1 year, $4.25 million. He's going to be a depth piece. He was traded in the Jorge Soler deal, but Atlanta just cut him loose and said, "We don't need you." And now they need another starter. So what the fuck?
Yeah, so it's been an interesting offseason for the Mets. I think all told. Obviously the Juan Soto thing is Juan Soto. But
Right.
like they signed Chris Williams. They signed catcher Chris Williams from minor league deal. But like I never heard of this guy.
Me
I didn't
either.
know there was a catcher named Chris Williams. Like I feel like David Stearns is just making up people and then signing them. They signed like this kid was it Jared Young? Jared
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Jared Young.
Yeah.
Buff and hung Jared Young getting his name on the dotted line for the Mets. He's going to be back. He's probably going to be a AAA piece as well, just to sort of back up Vientos and whoever our first baseman is, or Vientos and whoever our third baseman is.
Right.
He's played corner outfield as well, so I mean he could see some run as a bench piece, but I'm thinking this is probably going to be a AAA guy.
I mean, Roster Resource has him on the major league bench right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Um,
Still plenty of time left for us to sign Pete and send him to the
oh sure,
minors.
yeah, yeah. But I'm just it's so we blow the wad on Juan Soto, but then there's
Mhm.
these guys that you know I never even heard of, or like Griffin Canning, Dylan Covey, that's just very 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 depth pieces.
Sure. You can never have too many arms, I always say, and it's good to have 7 dudes that are major league ready at this point
Sure.
with Senga and whatever the hell we get out of Clay Holmes and David Peterson, Tyler McGill. Like all of these guys are major league ready. They're professionals, but I think just like Baltimore, we need a really bona fide ace, and Corbin Burns would fit incredibly well here. I just don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think it is either. It doesn't seem to be Stearns's philosophy. It doesn't seem like he wants to give a big contract to a pitcher. I would see Mania or maybe Walker Bueller. I think it's as high as we will go.
Yeah, Walker Bueller, one with an option or something like that would be really good.
Yeah.
I just really hope we bring Pete back. That's the one thing I'm really hoping for.
I'm hearing like Pete or Bregman.
I suppose Bregman would be all right. I think he was propped up by the Crawford boxes, and I think his swing was just meant for that stadium. So I don't think that him coming to the Mets would be an upgrade in ballpark for him. He's a winning baseball player. Uh,
He's a
I
game
don't
winner.
know.
He
My
plays.
question is, how does he gel with this team? Because this team was really the most the most cohesive team I had seen in a very long time from the Mets last year, and I
I
don't
mean,
want to fuck up that vibe.
let me ask you: does it make sense to re-sign Jose Iglesias? Like
Yes,
just right,
yes,
just for the clubhouse, if nothing else. But like
yes,
he was solid off the bench too.
yeah.
I bring him back.
I agree. I think he could be the super utility player that we're hoping for. The only thing about that is that it kind of stunts Ronnie Mauricio's path to playing time. It kind of cuts into Luis Angel Acuna's playing time because we still have Jeff McNeil. If we move Jeff, forget it. You absolutely bring that dude back and let him be a bench piece and let
Yeah,
Acuna have the second base job. Let Mauricio figure out coming off of the injury in the minors and move forward that way.
yeah. I mean,
What is
this
on your Christmas wish list, Mr. Ashby?
who is on my Christmas list. Um, you know, Luis Castillo is still out there
Mm-hmm.
as a name that the Mariners are looking to deal. So I just I, I know Stearns is reluctant to deal from the top echelon of the farm,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know what that means. 'Cause I don't think that like Drew Gilbert. I don't think he wants to trade Drew Gilbert. I don't think he wants
Mm-hmm.
to trade Ryan Clifford. So I don't know where we can get, how we can get to a Luis Castillo without dealing any of those guys.
I mean, there's 7 dudes in our farm system that like are pretty coveted. It's Clifford, it's uh, Gilbert, Acuna, Mauricio, Jet Williams, Brandon Sproat, and who am I forgetting? I'm forgetting one other. Kevin Parada. Kevin
Kevin
Parada,
Parada.
the catcher. Those 7 guys, I mean, you can't play all of them, right?
No.
We're going to need a center fielder at some point. Jose Siri and Tyrone Taylor be damned. They're on 1-year deals. We're going to need a center fielder. So whoever you think is our center fielder of the future, that's the guy. You don't trade him. Second base, yeah, Jeff McNeil is not what we thought he was going to be coming off of the batting title. So maybe he gets moved.
Yeah.
And that opens up playing time for guys like Acuna or Jet Williams or Ronnie Mauricio. But you can't keep all of these guys. We're going to have to do something. And I think trading for Luis Castillo is a smart move.
I don't. I mean, I don't know why Parada or Francisco Alvarez. Like, who is the catcher of the future?
Exactly.
There's no reason to keep both of them unless you're going to move them off of catcher.
Right.
Because they're
And you're
both
not doing that if you're bringing back Pete, and you're not doing that if you're playing Vientos at first. Like, you're just not going to do either of those things.
right. So I think Alvarez has solidified his role in the Mets. So
Yeah.
what I don't know what Kevin Parada is doing for us. Trade him.
I think that's a decent idea. I mean, Seattle has Cal Raleigh, so
Yeah, but
you
he's
could
like 30
DH Cal
something.
Raleigh, and you could DH Cal Raleigh and let Parada play. I just don't know. I think there is a trade to be made. I think one of these or 2 of these or maybe even 3 of these 7 guys are going to go. I don't think we see all of them on the Mets at any point.
Yeah.
But the question is, where do they fit? Who fits where? What does Stearns think about the future of this team? Who's going to play center field after 2025?
Yeah. But I will say I have liked what David Stearns has done. I trust in
Oh
David
yeah,
Stearns. Whatever he does, I'm on board with it. So like it's just a matter of you just gotta see what happens.
yeah.
And I think Pete is the first domino.
Pete is the biggest domino right now. He needs to go ahead and take a 5-year, 125, $150 million deal and come on back home. Let's
Yeah.
let's finish this thing. Let's get the first World Series in 40 fucking years. First one of our lifetime. And let's go get it. Let's go get it. Jason,
And
we are what, maybe 6 or 7 weeks away from pitchers and catchers reporting.
I think I saw 100 days till opening day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane. It's already creeping up on us, and those much anticipated ranking shows will be coming very, very soon. Frank Bucco is so ready to do them.
I have been tinkering and moving people all around. This is so it's so aggravating almost. It's like I can't, it's like painting a picture. You just can't get it right.
No, you can't ever just every time you move one person around, you're like, yeah, but the questions I asked earlier, like, would you Garrett Crochet or Aaron Nola?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I don't know.
I have no idea. I think I have them back to back in my rankings, but who goes higher?
Starting pitchers scare me. I barely even touched starting pitchers yet because it's scary.
I've got over 80 ranked already. I've got 30 of each position, and I think I've got 70 outfielders ranked at this point.
Okay.
Just absolutely deep this year. It's going to be a really, really fun year.
Jason,
thanks so much for being here with me, my friend.
Absolutely, sir. It's always a pleasure. And we'll be our eyes will be on Twitter waiting for the next Met news drop.
No doubt about it. Guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. Until next time, it's been real, it's been fun, and it is always real fun in the bigs. We'll see you next time.